Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be painting up a squad of 10 Neophytes. I'm sorry this took so long. I've just been very busy transitioning jobs and stuff, and it's taken a lot of my focus out. Even though this whole model kit took almost no time at all to actually paint. So I got mine from a third-party website, relatively cheap. And I assemble them up to the point where, so their heads are separate. Actually, their heads are all on a sprue. I wanted to try that assembly line kind of stuff right now. And their guns and arms are all assembled separately, and then their bodies and legs are assembled in their entirety. The standard bearer is fully assembled apart from his head, and the sergeant is fully assembled except for his head. And yes, and once that is done, we prime everything with my car primer, which for some reason, at the very first time, this actually had a bit of an issue. I probably forgot to wipe the nozzle, and some of the models came out a little frosty. But these are scrubs, so I can overlook it, despite the fact this is for my own army. Alright, with Dawnstone, Administrative Grey, and Bold Titanium White, we're going to begin the pre-coding. First, we're going to place Dawnstone all over. Then, we're going to take Administrative Grey, with an airbrush applied down at like a 45-degree angle, creating dark and light. Now, Dawnstone as the dark is very subtle, so these models will have very bright colors, and so a pure black actually is going to be a bit of an issue. And so a gray Dawnstone would be a good dark shadow, and then Administrative Gray, and then Bold Titanium White will be dry brushed all over. And I believe I use a makeup brush for this because the bristles are super soft and they like get everywhere, and so it made a much better attempt at dry brushing. Alright, now for the base coats. Now, because these are scrub squads, I'm going with speed painting. This is for fast, simple, easy done. So we want to go with very bright colors for this. So we're going to take Temple Guard Blue for blue, Mephiston Red, Administrative Gray, Eshin Gray, and we're going to do Lawman Medium. Now, essentially what I do is I create a wash of this. I have like, this is based off the brush that I have, so I can't really give you the good accurate measurements. You have to feel the way out with each paint, and because you have to have the exact brush I had. But basically, I apply some paint, add like 3 drops of Lawman Medium, and then a drop of water to help it flow better, and then I just applied it onto the model. So the bright blue went with the arms, legs, basically the pants, the cloth part. The red went with their like loincloths. They had like these skirt thingies around them. Administrative Gray went onto their armor, their chest armor and stuff, and Eshin Gray went onto their feet, their boots, and their elbow pads, as well as their gloves if they have them. Now I will point out that this base layer is supposed to be as bright as possible. Mephiston Red was actually a bad choice. I should have gone even lighter and brighter. So just FYI. And now for the oil paints. We're basically painting in shadows right now. And I'm not really going to wipe away from the models. I'm just going to apply a layer and then that's just it. So cadmium red, magenta, French ultramarine, black, and mineral spirits. So that Gamsol, ignore the name, it's mineral spirits, that's it. Get odorless ones, just FYI. And so essentially we just mix mineral spirits in until we create a wash of a certain thickness. With black, you want to use very little black paint or black oil paint and a lot of mineral spirits because it's so pigmented. You have to figure out which one for each. So you have to figure this out. And basically, red onto the skirts, purple onto the faces and flesh, French ultramarine onto the bright blue, and black onto their chest armor and foot armor elbow pads and stuff. And that's it. Totally forgot to show what paint I use, but basically I use Kislev flesh on them. At first I tried to create a wash, but that was terrible, so then I just applied just a watered down paint onto them to create a pretty solid color, but you can still see the undercoating. Alright, now with lamp black, black, magenta, and I was thinking of using the yellow, but in the end I didn't, to like lighten some areas, but that was not needed. So basically what happens is I mix the black with the purple, make it a very dark purple, and then apply a wash all over their faces and stuff, and then I just let it fill in the recesses, and I actually do wipe with a sponge. I wipe the top of their heads and stuff once it has dried to keep that part like brighter than the rest. A light rubbing with a makeup brush along the top of their heads, faces and stuff, and it works well. Yeah. Now with Koala Green Shade and Temple Guard Blue, we're going to add more details onto the arms. Now the only reason I'm bringing Koala Green Shade is some of their arms are chitin armor. They're like, part of them are more gene sealer than human. So I just apply a layer of this pure to like colorize it and differentiate it from their clothes. That's just it. I didn't have any real thoughts in it. And then Temple Guard Blue, I just took it a bit watered down, make sure it's a nice paint, and then just start painting the highlights. Just something quick on the most raised areas. This is quick. We're not even stressing over high details. This is quick, fast, and done. And also, just FYI, this is the first layer of paint after oil washes and stuff. Basically, a night has passed for the oil washes to dry, the mineral spirits to dissipate, and so now paint can easily adhere. If you do this right after doing oil paints, good luck, nothing is going to stick. And now with Dawnstone, Administrative Gray, Kislev Flesh, and Wild Rider Red, we're going to paint, well, basically we're just going to highlight everything. These are quick, simple highlights on the most raised areas and stuff. We're not going high detail, we're just going light catching and stuff, and fixing any messes. So Dawnstone's going to go onto the elbow pads and feet, shins, knee pads and stuff, just like the top parts and stuff. It was like just a few seconds, like this barely took any time. Administrative Gray is going on to their chest armor and lights, basically the top lines of their armor and stuff like that, their shoulder plates and such and such. Kislev Flesh is going on to, well, their flesh. Water it down a bit because it can be a bit strong in comparison, and just outline their fingers, for those who have fingers, stuff like that. And, whatchamacallit, as far as their faces, I applied it like feathering it, like moving it back and forth on the top of their heads, the back of their heads, their bald heads, to create like a light point or like a transition of color. But I should have watered it down a bit further when I outlined like their eyebrows, high cheeks, and the dots on their head. It's a little bit too striking in comparison, so should have watered that down more. And then the Wild Rider Red, I mean obviously the little kilts they have, just highlighting the edges and stuff. I probably should have had Wild Rider Red as the base color. I probably would have done better for just the color transition and everything, but live and learn. And then with Mournfang Brown, Agrax Earthshade, XV88, we're going to paint their gun holsters and like little ammo pouches that they have. So basically, this is just a very simple, quick, easy job. Mournfang Brown base, Agrax Earthshade Pure all over. Then we're going to do a 1-to-1-ish of Mournfang Brown and XV88, and we're going to highlight all the edges of the leather. Then we're going to do like little slashes in between that. And we're just going to stop there. That's good enough. It's pretty fine and detailed, but if you wanted to go further, you can take little dots of XV88 Pure and put it on the most raised folds and stuff. But I don't want to. It's good enough. Now with XV88 and Mournfang Brown again, we're going to do, like, they have these leather belts and straps that are around them in the front and back and stuff. And so they're super small, but it's super easy to highlight these, and I wanted to showcase it. So basically, we do the highlight first. We paint the bright color and completely cover the leather strap. Now, there's some of the guys who have this on their arms and stuff. There were some that have it on their boots, but I wasn't going to bother with that. And basically, once we have a solid color of XV88, we then take Mournfang Brown and we just paint a simple straight line in the middle, and it's automatically highlighted. That's easy, simple, and done. The highlights from before weren't good enough with the faces and stuff, so I wanted to do like a further highlight. Kislev flesh mixed with a little bit of pallid witch flesh, and just did their eyebrows, the edges of their skull plates and stuff like that, and little dots and stuff. Maybe it was a little too strong, maybe I should just stay with the Kislev flesh, but this kind of emphasized it. And because the models are so small, that larger transitions of color right next to each other stand out better. And then with AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, we just apply it all over, with a little bit of water to get rid of the whitening effect of this. Alright, with Abaddon Black and Vallejo Steel paint, which is basically a dark metal, but it's not dark enough, so we're going to mix some Abaddon Black into it to create a very black metal. And we're just going to use it as the base color for all the metals, all their metal pieces, guns, stuff like that, weapons, yeah. And with AK Interactive Duraluminum, which is just a bright silver. Because these things are so small, pieces of metal and models, we're just going to do a very hard transition. We're going to paint the edges, the tops of the gun barrels, or the open faces and stuff, edges of pieces of metal, that's it. And the contrast will help. Now for pipes and like the standard bearer and this guy's pickaxe, we're just going to paint the edges, and then we're going to do little light scratches or lines in between, just to add some character. Alright, with Hashut Copper, Seraph Sepia, and Sycorax Bronze, we're going to paint their brass gold stuff. So I'm mostly focusing on the standard bearer, but they all have like these Gene Sealer Cult medallions. So basically, the darker color, Hashut Copper, goes on first, then Seraph Sepia over to add some more depth and shadow, and then Sycorax Bronze just on the edges, the curves, the folds, stuff like that, bolts here and there, and that's it. And we're gonna call it done there. So I just focus mostly on the major things. Like there are obviously some things I skipped, like assembly, but that's just putting on a head and their arms. It's not very satisfying. Their bases, I've done these street bases before, although these ones came out a little odd. I'm going to redo them a bit. In previous episodes, I did this street bases much better. Just follow that tutorial. And now here's the thing. So this is just, what is this? This is like 60 points or something. It's like how much attention am I going to put on these guys? So essentially there are a few things I didn't show, but they were like not even worth mentioning. They have little red buttons, red lights, yellow lights, or their shoulder pad lights. It's just a solid color. Red switches just have a red. Their lights are red with a brighter red in the center. Their lights are green because for some reason I can never paint the yellow lights, so dark green light bulb and a little bit of center of a brighter green is just simple stuff like that. All their guns are painted essentially the same. Scratch marks here and there, a little bit of brass here and there for some of the special ones, and some of the weapons, their tips are painted red, just as no special stuff, but it's just a dark red and then a bright red on top. It's not even worth mentioning really. Yeah, and assembly is straightforward and basic. The small details of like some of them had goggles and stuff, just a color of metal and then fill in the goggled part with a solid color or something else. It's just tedious work. It's like stuff that you can make your own decision on. Is this switch need to be red or yellow? Does anyone care? Just has to be a little bit painted to fit in. And yeah. And so these are my Neophytes. It took me a month to paint them because I was like, they're almost done. It takes no time. I'll do it tomorrow. The lies we tell ourselves. These guys barely took any time at all. I just took forever dealing with real life. Actually, no. So for me to paint, whether big or small, requires like a level of mental clarity. Like my head is clear and I'm able to focus. Life's been rough where like I'm done from work and my brain cannot do much. And so I can't focus, so I can't really paint that well. So like I just paint for like 5 or 10 minutes at a time, and these guys took almost no time at all. Honestly, all in all, their assembly and priming probably took around 2 hours in total. You know what, let's be realistic, 3 hours, because these guys are ridiculous to assemble. Head, 2 arms, gun, chest and body. It took around 3 hours to assemble and prime, and then painting wise, honestly less. The only thing that would take time is using oil paints. I'd have to wait a whole day or a night. I can finish doing some oil paints at night and then I go straight into painting the next day because they would have dried and the surfaces would be able to adhere paint. I can do that. So basically probably like maybe around 5 or 6 hours to do this. And then drying times. Drying times would probably take around 12 hours of one session. If you wanted to do this, like you could do this in 2 days. You could do most your building and painting on one day, and then you'd have to hit the part where you do your oil paints at the first night, and then also lay the stuff for the bases. And so it would basically be like around 5 hours of work on one night, and then like an hour or so on your second night with highlighting. It really was like almost nothing. It was mostly just trying to decide, does this color go here? So overall, as far as these troops, these are scrub troops. These are meant to be painted fast, and they look pretty decent. I mean, you can clearly see what they have. They have bright colors. They're all highlighted. Their details come out very well for their 60 points, I think. I haven't looked. They've gotten an update in the last time I played. So essentially, I would probably say these guys are a good solid 7 out of 10. I rate basic speed painted troops differently than like characters and stuff, but these guys are 7 out of 10. They're decent. There's nothing really special about them. Their bases are okay, but I'm probably going to go back and redo them just a little bit. Just put a little more material or dirt and stuff on them to add more flavor. The bases are too clean. And yeah, apart from that, a good simple baseline unit that'll probably die in one whiff of shooting. But anyway, moving on from this, I'm actually going to make a slight change in the channel. So squads tend to like drain me or make me not want to paint them as much. So I'm going to try to transition to focusing more on single models. And squads only when I really want to or really need to, essentially. But so I got a bunch of single models lined up, mostly for GSC and such, and some for my world eaters. And essentially I'm going to try to focus on these quick, simple models so I can just get some more videos out, because I put like 3 videos out in the past 3 months. I mean, that's terrible. Because of big project. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Like the video if you like the video, share if you want to share, comment if you want to comment, and more to come. Bye.